You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And back today for episode number 4, hashtag justice for Bradley. And joining me again today is Miss Morgan Baggett. Hello, Morgan.
Hello, Woody, and hello, lifers.
All right. Hey, lifers. All right. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about. And y'all know me. The lifers know me. They're raw and unscripted. That I'm raw and unscripted. And I think it works best that way. Now, last time we were telling y'all about we could say alleged, but there was an eyewitness to Bradley's body and stuff like that. But the main thing we were talking about is Morgan Baggett's pursuit for justice for Bradley. Find out what happened to him, where he is, and it's all really about your son Oliver. And you know, you loved him. I'm sure you still love him, whatever. But you loved him as a husband at one time, and all that. But you kept up this pursuit, and you kept up the fight. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about the tip line, 313-RLRC tip. Y'all, we took last week off. It was the 4th of July. Nobody listens on the 4th of July. I can promise you that from doing it in 7 years of podcasting. It would have been a waste of space. But we're back today. The tip lines, Morgan has all the followers on TikTok that she's built up this case from Where's Bradley Stracener over the years, okay? The lifers are getting it now, and then, believe it or not, there's even lifers in Vernon Parish and the surrounding areas that have no idea who you were, Morgan, until I started telling this. But then they call in tips about and say this, this, and this. Some of them might be very detailed. Some of them might be very short. Some of them go against what you're saying. Some of them back what you're saying. And it doesn't matter. Like I said in my TikToks, everybody's a suspect except for me and you. All right. Now, what I want to say about the tip line, people that, and it's been numerous of y'all who are either afraid to leave your name or go against what the normal thought is, being Morgan and whoever else in the community's thoughts on who murdered Bradley and what happened to Bradley. You don't have to be afraid. I'm going to look at them all independently and with an unbiased mind. I don't care. I don't look. Like Courtney Coco's case, when I started it, I certainly didn't think it was the asshole that did it, right? He wasn't even on the radar, and it was a tip. They got called in by the 5th or 6th week, and then I just to look at it, and it went sideways. I was like, holy shit. And then it kept going and going and going and going. And that's what's going to happen in this case. But so don't be afraid. You can remain anonymous. I don't care. Remain anonymous, but you got to tell me you want to remain anonymous, right? And say, hey, Woody, I don't want this out there, but I'm not, I'll listen. If you want to call in and leave a voicemail and not leave a name or anything like that, I'll listen to it, but I'm not going to prioritize that over everything else unless it matches up with another tip that I already have. Because the bad guys and girls who killed Bradley are listening, all right? And they're going to try and throw me off. And I get that. I've been doing this a long time, almost 30 years. And so don't be afraid to say what you want to say. You want to remain anonymous? Remain anonymous. Morgan, how many tips have I told you about?
You
Very
told
few.
me that they're flooding in, but you haven't said who, what, when, where.
That's right. And,
Neither.
and there's a reason for that, y'all.
Yeah.
And Morgan, it certainly it has, and I don't want to call it a bias, but you have your own view on this, and I get it. And I'm not saying you're wrong by any way, shape, or form, but I'm telling you, I'm going with your view, but I'm looking at everything, and we're going to prove it one way or another. I haven't shared with Morgan all your tips. I know you're listening to me right now, the people that I'm talking to. I haven't shared your tips with Morgan. I'm not going to burn you with Morgan or make Morgan mad at you or whatever. That's not what this is about. This is about bringing Bradley home so he can be buried. His son Oliver can know what happened to him, and we can get justice for him. We'll put these assholes in prison where they belong because they're running around right now. They got to enjoy the Fourth, right? And so don't be afraid of it, y'all. And then
They
this
still
is
have.
Crystal. Go ahead.
Glad you said that, Woody, because they have their freedom when they don't deserve it. I'm so glad you.
They're breathing free air right now. They're probably at McDonald's eating supper, right? Where's Bradley? He's dead. Okay. And so y'all got to keep calling the tips, and TikTokers that have been following Morgan the whole time, that if some of y'all have don't see it the same way she sees it, and that's okay. I'm not telling Morgan shit. All right, I am working the case with Morgan. Morgan is the one that gives me the information, but y'all are giving me a shit ton more information, and I've got to work it. Okay, and it's fine. And someday, and you don't know when. I'm certainly not going to advertise it. My ass is going to be in Vernon Parish until this is solved. So but first we got to complete telling the story. And now this is I do not like throwing shade on cops. And I bleed blue, literally bleed blue. I was just on the phone. Sheriff from East Feliciana Parish called me on my cell phone. 2 days ago, Sheriff from Livingston Parish called me. They're my friends. These are guys I came up in law enforcement. They know me and they respect what I do, right? And I have more sheriffs on my phone probably than anybody else, regular contacts. I don't like going against cops, but if you're a fucking shithead, you're a fucking shithead. And have I arrested cops and put them in prison before? Certainly I have, because you're being a shithead. Now, being a shithead, like, and raping somebody or dealing drugs or whatever, that's one thing. But being a shithead just because you're ignorant and you're hoping this investigation or confession is just going to fall on your lap, which one did in this case a couple times, but we'll get to that. The David Vance, I'm going to just say it, David Vance is who I'm specifically talking about. And Morgan worked with him from the beginning, and I want to go back and touch on that today. Morgan worked from him from the beginning until she didn't. And when she didn't, he flipped the script. And I'm going to get to that today. He flipped the script, and that's why I'm involved in this case, and that's the truth, because it really, really pisses me off. And I don't give a fuck about David Vance. Don't know him, wouldn't know him if I saw him, but I know, according to what Morgan has told me and other people on the tip line and everything else, I know what he hasn't done in this case. Okay. So Morgan, let's go back to it. And I know we're going to be rehashing a little bit. Bradley's missing. You start talking with David Vance.
Hey,
Good.
we'll have to zoom this, but you're a little glitchy for me. I don't know if it's
It
me.
doesn't. It doesn't. Hey, listen to me. It doesn't matter on this platform. It'll glitch, but when you play it back, it plays back fine. That's Riverside FM. Okay, so even if it looks like a freeze for a second, that it's still recording and it'll work. It'll work out fine.
I
Okay.
see you, so I can just hear you.
You can't see me.
No,
I
I
can
have.
see.
Okay.
I can see you, and it's going to work out fine. To, I've used this enough to know when there's some glitches and freezes, whatever. When they edit it, it's all called up and loads up in real time. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Morgan, back to the beginning. David Vance, detective, Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office. He's got Brad. Well, I know some other detective had it before him. Correct.
Very, very briefly, yes,
Very
before
briefly.
the Beauregard
Then
Parish.
and David got it, and he comes into contact with you, correct?
Um, yeah, well, the next time I called up there is when I found out it was the new detective, and it was Detective David Vance, and that was my first contact. It was only a couple of months in, honestly. I can't tell you exactly when, but it was not long at all after Bradley disappeared.
All right. And so what happened?
Um, I called the sheriff's office, and they said, Sly was no longer with them, that he was had moved on to Beauregard Parish, and that David Vance was the new detective on the case, and that was the very first contact I ever made, and way back when, the reason I was calling, I couldn't even recall. But I just know David Vance is who I dealt with from then on out up into the very last contact I had with him, which
Okay.
was shortly after Austin Obanion was unalived.
You could say murder if we're on a podcast.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
so sick.
that's all right. I get it too. I catch it myself. So during this time, Vance would contact you with information or questions. He was working or whatever. That correct?
That is true. We went through a whole lot of different scenarios. I believe it was 2021. I was on the way to work one day. They called me 7 a.m. in the morning, and actually, the memory of the Facebook post I came across that not so long ago at all. Um, and he says, hey, we have found human remains so far. It's just the hands, two hands, and why he said this or why he thought this, I'll never know. But he was like, it's looking like it really could be Bradley geographically, like the location. Some tweakers, and this is a real life story. Some tweakers, like 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, is digging for arrowheads, and they find skeletal remains. And I got the phone call. His father got the phone call. I'm sure his mother got the phone call. And my world stopped turning. And I'm sick. Like, I don't even know. I drove so slow the rest of my 70-mile drive to work and just in silence. And right before I got to work, I was getting another call from him. I probably never answered a phone call so fast in my life. And he said, hey, Morgan, I'm just letting you know that we have sent photographs of these remains to LSU Faces Lab. They have confirmed that these are bear paws. And he said, apparently, bear paws and human hands look very, very similar to people who don't know what they're looking at. But it's not human remains, so obviously it's not going to be Bradley. And
Well, let me talk about that real quick. I would have never called. Hey, I would have never called a family member or a loved one and said we have human remains. Looks like it's going to be Bradley or whatever. How easier would it have been? Now, and that shows me a rookie right there. That because he's excited, and at least he was excited about working at Bradley as a homicide at that time. But he's excited. He's calling family members. Ooh, look what I got. Fuck you. Call Mary Manheim used to run the Faces Lab at LSU. Send it to them. They get those every single day. As a matter of fact, the ones that you sent me, that people thought they were, human leg bones and stuff like that. It's not, and that I've sent those in. He could have just as easily called them first. He could
First.
have waited till 8 o'clock, called them first, send in the pictures that it says bear paws,
Yeah.
and then that doesn't have to re-traumatize you or his dad or his family.
And that
So,
was early things, and everything still was so horrifying. And I know this sounds really bad, but I'm so numb to those things now. Like when something happens, there was remains found in Calcasieu Parish not that long ago, and I just very calmly and patiently wait and pray now. And before I would just get plumb beside myself when things like that was happening. And now it's just another day.
yeah, I get it. But I wonder I wonder what kind of supervision this guy had, especially. At least he was working the case or attempting to in the beginning. But that's not from a detective standpoint. That's not kosher. I'd have got my ass chewed out. I would have got my killed by supervisor, sheriff, or higher ups in the state police that make a phone call to the family without waiting an hour to call the Faces Lab first. All right, let's
Well,
go on to go ahead.
I promise you, Papa Sam, Bradley's father, would tell you the same exact story I just told because he got the same call. We both did, and yeah, so and there's going to be a few instances where it's not just me that experienced it.
Right, right. And so let's remind lifers, listen again, the this information that you're getting on the podcast, it's coming from Morgan, right? And then it's Morgan. It's either what David Vance has told her or what someone else has told her or whatever. Certainly she wasn't there, but she is a witness to this person telling her. Now, I believe her 1,000%. And yes, Morgan, there's a lot of different things that you said that I've verified in different ways through other people that actually were there. But I'm going on the good faith and asking everyone to go on good faith to stand behind you that what you say is true
Well,
to the
that's what
best of your knowledge, right?
it
What
is.
reason do you have to lie? What reason do you have to lie? We're trying to bring Bradley home. We're not trying to fucking lie about stuff,
Just like I
right?
have almost 6 years, you confirm or you debunk.
Yep, yep. And but let's go back to he's working it then. The what is tell me something else you can remember in between that time and the Austin Obanion stuff, and then we'll get to that. Like
Well,
just general calls. Like I mean, how do you know he was working it as a homicide or as a suspicious or a cold case or whatever?
people here and there and everywhere, yes, contact with the sheriff's office and mostly David Vance. But, people, though the rumors would fly, he's put in a wood chipper, as he was cut up, he was this, that, the other, buried here, there. They found him, they found his head. That was always happening. But as far as correspondence between myself and David Vance or anyone else from the sheriff's office, they would call me. They would call me periodically and say this, that, and the other. We're following this lead, or have you heard this? Just like I share everything with you back then, I would share everything I heard with them. I woke up to like 3 or 4 messages one morning. They found remains and found Bradley, and I messaged him immediately. And one morning, the response I got from David Vance is he said that is absolutely not true at all.
Okay.
And, that was maybe one of a million.
Yeah.
times that he told
What,
me, 1 out of 1,000,000 times that he told me, I felt like he was telling me the truth.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I don't doubt that Vance was telling the truth and especially in the beginning. Okay.
mhm,
I think Vance was working it. I just don't think he had I think he was punting outside his coverage. But he's working it. And you know what? How do you get to be an experienced detective? You are a young detective or not experienced detective in a certain area, and you learn from your mistakes, and I get that. So you're not getting any more. Ooh, we found his hands, whatever cause, and I get that. But
mhm.
you're still, and anytime anybody gives you information, you're forwarding it to David Vance, right? You're in
Yes.
communication with him,
Yeah.
and everyone once in a while he's calling you and saying, "Hey, did you hear about this? Can you give me an example of something?" I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just
There was one girl that I'm acquainted with, and she's just kind of one of those that you just don't know how much stock you can put into her. And she told me some things, and I immediately messaged David Vance asking, "Hey, have you heard this?" And he said, "Oh, that chick's kind of out there. We listened to her, we met with her, and we can't confirm anything she told us," type of deal. There was one other time, someone I've known all of my life, unfortunately, because of my past childhood, and followers of me know a lot more about that, and we can circle back to that sometime or another. But um, a man, I'll I'll say his first initial was G, and he was arrested and on unrelated charges related to Bradley's case. And he was strung out of his mind up for God knows how many days. And he confessed to Bradley's murder. And he said he knew what happened, he knew where it happened, he knew who done it. And
and you're getting this from Vance. You're getting
yes,
this from Vance. Okay.
absolutely. I got a call, and this was one of those super hopeful times, like maybe it's really over this time. And so I go to the sheriff's office, and we sit in his office, and we chit chat a minute about, just small talk. And then he says, "Well, the reason I called you here today is," and he turns his screen around, his computer screen, his monitor on his desk. "I was not prepared for what I saw. Um, it was the man that I've known, and I recognized him immediately, trying to hang himself in his jail cell. And I watch it play out, and people rush in and take him down. And he turns it back around, and he says, 'Do you know such and such?' And I'm like, 'Yes.' And he said, 'Did Bradley know such and such?' And yeah. And he said, 'Well, here's the deal.' And he proceeded to explain to me that he confessed to murdering Bradley, but he had told 3 different stories, and the only thing that remained the same was the weapon and the location. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty emotional at this point, and I'm like, I know him. Can I talk to him? Like, will y'all let me talk to him and see like how that goes? And at this point, he's like, that's not completely out of the question. Could we appeal to his emotion? And he said, but not right now. And he said, I'm going to get that weapon, and I'm going to send it off, and yada, yada, yada. And I kid you not, in the middle of this meeting, David Vance's desk phone rings. And I could hear. He didn't have it on speakerphone, but I could hear. And I said, he hung up the phone. I said, I gotta go, huh? He said, yeah. It was G's son on the way to the sheriff's office with proof of his innocence. G wasn't even in the state at the time of Bradley's disappearance. It was proved through credit card receipts, hotel stays, and being the person that I am and all that I've been through, you think I really left the vicinity? I went across the street and I kind of like backed into this little area just to wait and watch his son arrive. And I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why to this day. Um, so and it was proof. So I did leave once he arrived. I drove up. Under my carport, put my vehicle in park, and that's when David Vance was calling me, and he said, "Hey, G is innocent. There's no way that he could have did this. We do not know why he confessed." And that was that. It was the end of it, and I've the disappointment that I felt, there's no words for it, because I just thought, maybe it's really going to be over this time. And
Yep. Well, that tells me David Vance was working Bradley's case at that time. Attaboys. Kudos to him for proving it wasn't G, right? He was doing his job.
well,
And, but you're
son
still, go ahead.
went up there. Thankfully, his son brought the proof, or else there's no telling what could have happened. Sometimes, I don't know. I believe that there are people that they know didn't do this, that they tried to pin it on, Woody.
Well, that's, certainly, I have a hard time even Vance or anybody, but certainly there are dirty cops and that happens. I think it's more of a political pressure type thing. They need to solve it. They want to solve it. They want to be the big shot. They want to do the perp walk. They want to get justice for Bradley. But the thing being is, at least what I'm trying to, and I'll get to it in the end. What I'm trying to get to is you're assisting Detective David Vance of the Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office again on whether the tip was right or wrong, whether it was a bad confession or not, right? You're assisting. He's actively seeking your help, which I would have done. I mean, shit, I'd use anybody I could to help. But thankfully, he proved, thankfully, G's son brought it in or whatever, and he disproved it. Okay, so that's good. You're still working together. That's my point, right? And you continue to work together.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Before, one other thing that's pretty wild that we could get into more now or later, but I believe it was that meeting, that before it was over with, or at some point in time, he had said, by the way, are you putting, are you placing letters in Jason's mother's mailbox? And
And Jason is who, remind him?
Jason McDaniel, one of the individuals who last saw Bradley on the day that he went missing
In the trailer park, the
in Shady Oaks Trailer Park. Yeah.
trailer, he lived with the girl in trailer park, and that's where you pulled up, and the neighbor said you talked to them. I'm
Yeah.
just rehashing for people who may not have listened. So he's asking you about, are you putting letters in Jason's mama's mailboxes?
Yeah. And like, no, like what are you talking about? And he says, well, she's been, and they weren't mailed, they were dropped in her mailbox. Just like somebody drove up, just like the mail lady would, and put it in there. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't even know where the lady lives. And I didn't at the time. I didn't know. I had no idea. And I said, well, what did they say? And he said something along the lines of, you need to tell your son, Jason, that he needs to do the right thing about Bradley Stracener and tell the truth. Come forward and tell the truth. And I I told him, I was like, everybody that follows this knows me by now. I said, I can't tell you that if I knew where she lived at, that it wouldn't have been me, but I don't know where she lives, and it is not me. And he's like, okay, and that was
Right.
kind of the last of it. Well, I told that story on TikTok, and other people came forward, and they had also been receiving letters in the mail saying, like, you need to do the right thing and come forward and tell the truth about what happened to Bradley. Some, maybe they know something, or they don't have a clue, but even one of Bradley's aunts and uncles was receiving those letters, and it's just so wild to me. And I want to say this part: G did the false confession before Austin Obanion, and the witness that came forward, which I know we'll get more into. These letters were being received while Austin Obanion was still alive. Nobody has received letters since then.
Right. And so, interesting. And obviously, 100 people, I don't know how many people mailboxes got letters, but obviously everybody didn't kill Bradley, right? But Vance is still telling you about it, right? Still working together with you on it, right? He's still at this time. Hey, Nat, you there? Okay. He still at this time believes you're credible, correct?
Yes,
All right.
he did. When I left that day, I believe that he believed me.
And I'm gonna touch on this real quick. In the last episode, we talked about the letter, and I actually have more information on it about the traffic stop and the Bradley's mom going to the hotel, retrieving the letter, and getting stopped on a traffic stop. The uniform patrol guy gets it, called Vance. Vance told him to take it. Now I've proven that that actually in fact did happen according to Bradley's mama, and I have a recording of it, etc. And I've been talking with them also on the side, and I'll be continue to be talking to them more in the future. But they took it. Okay, why would you take it if you weren't working it? Because you're working it. All right. I mean, that's bullshit. They should have
But
given a receipt and all that.
like that and call it crackhead gibberish
Wait,
too.
I've been getting to that. I'm getting to that. Hold on. And so they take it. They're still working it. And everything. And let's go back to Austin Obanion, and because I'm going to try to get to my point of today's episode before it ends. The Austin Obanion. At some point, David Vance calls you, and I know we talked about it last week, but re-summarize it.
Yeah.
David Vance calls you in, Austin Banion's in jail, and
Hmm.
what?
Well,
Say it again. So what she said.
he gives me a call. He actually sends me a Facebook message and says, hey, and I call him, and he says, when can you talk? I'm like, right now. And he's like, no, in person. And I was like, okay. So I go as soon as I can to the sheriff's office. And this comes after G's false confession. So nerves are bad. They're bad. I'm on the way up there, and I get to the office and I walk in. David Vance comes out and gets me from the lobby and leads me down the hallway and then into his office and shuts the door. And we sit down again, just like G's confession, false confession. And at this time, he does not tell me Austin O'Banion's name. He does not tell me. He says, we have a female in our custody. who was arrested on unrelated charges to Bradley's case. And she says she witnessed what happened to Bradley on the night that he went missing. And I'm like, okay, just waiting for this to unfold. He proceeds to tell me that according to him, and then there's some things that are contradicting here, and I know we'll get into that. Bradley apparently is walking on the side of the road, and Austin picks him up, and they decide to go to an abandoned house together and buy drugs. And they pull up to the abandoned house. Austin stays in the vehicle, and Bradley goes inside for the drug deal. And she waits a little while, not long, and she hears 2 gunshots, one after another. And she's on the phone with a friend, and she starts freaking out, like, I don't know what to do. Oh my God, oh my God. And before she can get over into the driver's seat and get out of there, someone is at her window with a gun to her head, drags her out of the car, and brings her into the front of the house. And she sees, body under a sheet. And the only thing that she has to identify Bradley with is because she said that he had one of those blue bracelets on, kind of like the rubber band ones that people
Right.
do, in honor or some remembrance or
Right.
something.
Right.
And there's an arm out from under the sheet, and it's got a blue bracelet on it, and Bradley had a blue bracelet on. And when she goes into the front room and sees Bradley, he tells me what 2 individuals.
David Vance tells you.
Yes, David Vance. I'm sorry. Detective David Vance tells me that Jason and Danielle are there. And the third person's name that he told me that I've never said publicly, I call him JS. And I don't know what you'll do with that. You can say it if you want. JS.
Hey, David Vance told you what his name is. Tell it.
David Vance, Detective David Vance, I had never heard this name in my life until he's relaying this suspect, this individual that they have in jail, saying her eyewitness recount. And he says that it is Justin Charbonneau.
Okay. Very
And
good.
I'm
Okay.
I had ever heard that name. So I'm sitting there and I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, and all I keep going back to is I've heard, Jason and Danielle from the beginning, since day one, and but not the Justin Charbonneau name. That's a new name to me. My mind is spinning. So apparently the girl who's telling this eyewitness recount, which I later found out was Austin Obanion, is drugged to the back. She's, beat, and he says other things that
Drug
she.
to make to make it clear. I think it was getting a little jumbled there. She's drugged to the back. She's drugged to the back of the house. You've already told me this, but she's drugged to the back of the house, right?
House, and she's beat, and she's threatened. Her life is threatened. They say that they're going to kill her too, and they bring her back up, and then Bradley's body is wrapped up. This is always where it gets really tough. It just hits me so fast when I get to this part. Wrapped in a sheet and tarps and ropes and chains. And they load Bradley's body into the back of a vehicle, and us and the female who was telling the story. And they drive, according to David Vance, 45 minutes away from Sandy Hill to the Texas-Louisiana state line at Sabine River on Highway 8. And that is where they put like cinder blocks and weights on the ropes and the chains, and they threw Bradley's body over the bridge. And they've had, in my mind, I'm just processing all of this. They've had every chance in the world to kill the person who arrived there with Bradley, and she's not dead yet at that point.
We'll
And
get to that in a second.
they bring her all the way back to the abandoned house where the drug deal was supposed to be going down, and they go through her phone and they say, well, you've got children, so we're not going to kill you, but if you ever say anything, we will kill you and your entire family.
Right. Hey,
And so,
now, go ahead.
I just sit there and I listen to him relay all of this to me, and I can't describe my emotions or what's going through my head. I think I'm on another planet at this point, and I feel like I walk out of there, we conclude, I'm like, so what now? And well, we're going to do a search of the river, is what he said to me, David Vance, and
Didn't he also say she passed a polygraph?
he did. He did tell me that Austin Obanion, he didn't tell me that name, but he said the individual who told us all of these things passed a polygraph test. And he added this in there, and this part kills me about this eyewitness, because it shows, just like Bradley, that she had a good heart, the best of intentions, but it turned out all wrong. They're on their way back from the polygraph test, and he decides he's going to threaten her with the charges. And she knows that she passed, and she says to him, "What now?" And he says, "Well, you're going to get charged as an accomplice, and withholding information and this and that and the other." And Detective David Vance said that she said, well, that she started crying, and she said, "I figured that, but that's okay, because at least now Bradley's family's going to know what happened to him, and I have this off my chest and my shoulders, and I don't have to live with this anymore." She was
Right.
just fine with it. She was going to
And,
face what consequences was coming.
okay, let me say a couple of my ideas on this, and y'all just strictly my speculation, okay? And I think Austin Obanion was telling the truth, but not 100% of the truth. I think she may have been minimizing. I don't think she had anything to do with killing him. I think, you know,
She,
why
you know,
would you haul somebody that far and leave them as a witness and all that? Also, I know that at the time Austin Obanion didn't have a car. We know that Bradley had a car, and the Austin unfortunately was a user and all that, so it wouldn't have been off the wall for Bradley to pick Austin up walking down the side of the road. The taking you in the back of the room and beating you and driving you with the body and all that stuff. My speculation, I don't have any proof, but I'm just saying my speculation would be then we're talking years later. This is years after Bradley's been gone, and you get called on an unrelated charge, and then you get cornered into it, and then you are. I believe she's got true and correct information. But you're going to minimize your own involvement, and then I think that is a truthful statement that she's like, you know what, I figured the charges were coming, but at least his family's going to know, because I bet it ate away to her forever. Now, before we get to what happened to her,
yeah,
real quick, and we'll get in more detail next time because we're about to have to end this. There was another person that was in jail with Austin Obanion
Mhm.
who has told you separately and independently, told you what? And y'all, if you listen to this statement, you'll see how I came to my deduction that part of what she's saying is absolutely true. The other part doesn't make any sense. And everybody has self-preservation. You're not going to say, "Oh, I just stood there and didn't do anything because I was scared." You're thinking about your parents, what they're thinking about you, and what your life's going to be like, and all that. You're thinking, "Oh, okay, you know what? Fuck them. They did this." And they deserve to go down, and Bradley's family deserves to have his body back. But if I can skate on getting a chart, if I can skate on getting charged an accessory, then I'm going to do so. Get the When she came to the realization that the gig is up, and I want Bradley's family to know, that's fine. And now, before she gets out of jail, she's still in jail. She's sober. They don't. Well, you can get dope in jail, obviously, but according to this next witness, Austin Obanion is sober, and she told them. Austin told this person what? This person told you this, correct?
Yes, after I relayed Austin's eyewitness recount as told to me by Detective David Vance, I relayed that to TikTok in a video. I was contacted by an individual who said she was in jail with Austin, who I now then knew who Austin was, and that there were some things that didn't add up because Austin, while they were in jail, had also told her the story and some things that she knew. One of
Tell. I was going to say, tell me the discrepancies.
okay,
Tell what she said with the discrepancies.
one of the discrepancies was that Austin did not pick Bradley up. It was the other way around, which makes way better sense
I believe
because
that.
she said Bradley picked Austin up on the side of the road. Austin did not have a
Hey,
vehicle, and
we
Bradley did.
know Bradley had a car that day. We know.
And
Sure do.
then that they did not. This is on recording and as told to me by someone who says she was. In fact, it's been proven that she was in jail with Austin. That they did not go to an abandoned house on
That's
Lonnie Jean Loop. They went to Jason and Danielle's house to buy
let
the
me
drug.
let me interrupt. I believe that's true too, because the only thing that would really, if I was Vance, and she's talking about sheets and chains and all this shit. I mean, what abandoned house do you go to that happens to have sheets
Yeah.
in it, right? All right, so according now, Austin's telling they actually went to that trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and
And that was kind of about all. I mean, she had a lot more to say, but as far as discrepancies,
but tell what she said. All right, besides the discrepancies, what did she say that was exactly the same? That's believable.
she did say that because the question was being raised that would they have driven that far to dump a body? I mean, this vehicle that they supposedly went in was really loud. It was so loud, and there's a lot of state troopers up and down Highway 8 all the time. So they're taking a huge risk traveling to the location that they
What,
went to, the distance. So
what
that
did she say about what that was the same about seeing Bradley's body?
the blue bracelet. She said that.
So she said, basically, she said this exact same parts that you just said earlier that she told
Yeah,
Vance and them. Those parts were all said, but
yeah.
she didn't say anything about being beaten or raped or anything, right?
We didn't discuss all of that. We didn't go that far into detail.
Okay, well, and
She was just more
the
than saying, hey, some things aren't adding up that they told you because that's not what us Austin told me.
and so Austin told her they went to that trailer, Shady. What is it? Shady Oaks Trailer Park
The Oaks trailer.
to buy, which the vehicle wasn't found far from, to buy dope
Mhm.
and something. What did she say happened inside the trailer?
That she was waiting, that Austin was waiting outside of the trailer, and that Bradley goes inside to that trailer, not an abandoned house on Lonnie
Mm-hmm.
Loop, and that she heard two gunshots, and then she didn't know what from there, just what in the world do I do, but that the location that they relayed to me was not accurate and not truthful.
And at some point, she gets inside and sees Bradley's.
Yep. His arm with the blue bracelet out from under the sheet.
Right, and you could only a reasonable person can.
This
First of all,
woman told me, she said you could go back on the videos right now, and this part sticks in my head because of David Vance turning that monitor around that day to show me the man who gave the false confession trying to hang himself. She said you could go back right now and look on the cameras and see me and Austin sitting Indian style on the floor in front of each other while she's telling me. She said she cried, she put her head on my shoulder and said I have to do this. And this lady's telling me that she's telling Austin, like, you can't do this. This is dangerous for you. You know, I'm worried about you. And she said, I have to. I have to tell him. I have to let his family know. I have to
because
get this off my chest.
she got sober and she's in jail on an unrelated charge. She gets sober and the guilt hits her and she can't self medicate it away anymore, right? And she goes and she tells it. And
Yep.
not exactly the same. And we all have the self preservation. I get that. But she tells and she's trying to do the right thing, right? Passes polygraph. Vance tells you that he threatened her. At this point, you and Vance are still good, but Austin Obanion gets out of jail, and what happens to her?
Well, that's another very, very difficult part of this story. You know, all of this time, I know we've been saying Austin's name, but throughout that story that we've been talking about, I did not know Austin Abanion's name.
Yeah,
David
okay.
Vance.
So Vance never told you. I understand that, but
So
the
I'm cooking supper one day. I left there when I left that day. I just sat in my vehicle. It felt like I left the sheriff's office in slow motion. I literally could not wrap my head around or comprehend what had just been told to me. I was scared. I said, that is dangerous for whoever's just told them. It's dangerous for me to know. Why did they tell me? What is going on? I was so confused and I couldn't internalize it. And I don't say nothing. I don't say a word to anybody. And I'm cooking supper one day. I'm really close to Bradley's cousin, Uncle Anthony. That's what my boys call him, Uncle Anthony. And he don't knock when he walks in my house. We had plans, and he drove through a bar by my house, drive through, and got a 6-pack. And he come to my house, and I was cooking supper, and my front door swung open, and Anthony is standing in the doorway and he's looking at me, and I knew right away something is off, something is not right. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, he never knocks, but it was just the way he did it. And he said, you haven't heard? And I can't take that line anymore. You haven't heard? I said, haven't heard what, Anthony? What are you talking about? And he's like, well, they're talking about that girl at the bar. I'm like, what girl? What are you talking about? And he says the name for the first time I've ever heard it. Austin Obanion. What about her? And he says, well, they're saying that she told what happened to Bradley and they just found her dead this morning. And I was like, absolute tunnel vision. I lost my mind, Woody. I said, Austin Obanion? He said, yeah, they're saying her name is Austin Obanion. She told the sheriff's office everything that happened to Bradley. And I really don't know what my face or my reaction is. All I do really remember is Anthony walks through my door and around my bar, and he walks me backwards by my shoulders and sits me in a chair and turns the food off that I was cooking. And he told me later, he said, you turned white and wasn't saying a word. And he said to me, Morgan, I need you to snap out of it and tell me what is going on. And I stood up. I do remember just springing up out of that chair when I could finally just get a grip and snap out of it. And I started pacing. And I told him everything that David Vance had told me. And he kind of was losing it too at that point. He was like, holy crap. Oh my God. And I'm literally like short of hyperventilating. And I immediately started trying to call David Vance. I started trying to call David Vance right away. And I called him the next day. And I called him. I made up my mind I was going to call him Monday morning. And if he didn't answer, I was driving to that sheriff's office. And I called him Monday morning and he did not answer. And I was halfway to the sheriff's office when he called me back. I pulled over on the side of the road. And this right here was the turning point for me and David Vance in the Vernon Parish Sheriff's Office. I said, is it true? And he said, is what true, Morgan? And I said, is it true? The girl that told y'all what happened to Bradley, is she dead? And is her name Austin Obanion? And he said, yes, it is true. She is dead. And her name was Austin. It was Austin Obanion. But, and he says, but Morgan, it was it was nothing but an unfortunate coincidence. It's an apparent overdose, and unfortunately, her story has died with her. And I'm flashing out at this point. I said, no, 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 no. Her story did not die with her. You told me her story. You said that she passed the polygraph test. Her story did not die with her. He starts crawfishing. Well, what I mean is we can't go back and ask her any more questions now. And, and it's nothing but an overdose. He said there wasn't a single scratch on her body. He told me that. And I'm just, no, it didn't end very well, that conversation. I just go silent and I realized I had already been so suspicious of them for so long. And I said, yeah, okay. And we hung up. And that was one of the last cordial conversations that Detective David Vance and I had together.
Okay, so you just said everything I was going to get to, but by the end of the episode, I wanted to know how it ended, how it flipped. All right, but first of all, Austin Obanion was found. We're going to get into her. Look on my TikTok and on Facebook stuff. People are not only responding hashtag justice for Bradley, they're responding to hashtag justice for Austin Obanion also. So that needed to be addressed because my listeners don't know who Austin Obanion was, but they do now. And the correct me if I'm wrong, she had just gotten out of jail. It's like within a day and she's we won't get into the rest of it, but she's found naked, nude. Am I correct?
According to what I have been told from, I've never heard anything different.
Mm,
Unclothed, face down,
that's what I
dead.
want to hear. All right.
Trailer in Anacoca, Louisiana.
And Detective David Vance says her story dies with her. Well, you know what? Every polygraph's recorded, and all his interrogations recorded, and everything else is recorded. The question is, sir, why didn't you take that and run with it like you were in the beginning? But we're going to get to that. I want to end it with this, and we are not going to read it word for word. We will read it word for word next time. You said that's the last time y'all had a cordial conversation. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and I'm going to tell you the details next time. I'll go ahead and tell you they have a shitty relationship now. But what got me involved, after everything I'd read and all the stuff and everything listened to, your history of Vance and everything else, what really got me involved was I got on because I'm digging in you just like I'm digging in everybody else at that point, and I get on your shit and I see where David Vance got on your personal Facebook page and starts blasting you. Am I correct?
Yes.
And let's just give a couple highlight teasers. Besides, and I'll summarize a little bit for you, but when I give you everything this week, I was about to say, he basically says Morgan never delivers on anything. You got all her little not Facebook, all little TikTok followers.
So what he called
And,
him.
Facebook what?
He said social media or Facebook police. Basically,
That's right.
just
That's right.
yeah.
And she's always leaving with a cliffhanger, right? Hashtag cliffhanger. And
More to come.
yep. And so he said it's this on a personal fucking Facebook page, and I read it. I'm like, holy shit, dude! How can you do this? But you've been with her all this time, using her. They were not obviously using, yeah, but you were, but using her to try to.
I should get paid to do their jobs for them.
I understand, and we're running along, but listen to me. Using you to the point, and now you know it's Austin Obanion. Now he fucked up again, and he said her story died, but her and the relationship turns sour. Maybe somebody did chew his ass, and we're like, I can't believe you told her all that. But why? Even after that, he's going on your personal shit in putting you on blast. Look, y'all, Morgan built up a TikTok following, and that's hard as AF to do. And I get that. And to supplement her income, she's a single mom and all that. She at some point in the past, she tried to sell some stuff on TikTok. You got to have so many members before you can become an influencer and sell stuff. You get a little bit of commission. You try that. So what? He put you on blast about that. Well,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Does he put you on blast about going to work every day? And then the private investigator, and we're going to get into that next time too. The private investigator that you raise money for to hire with the best of intentions, and he puts you on blast about that. At this point, this dude is spending all his time putting Morgan Baggett on blast on social media and everywhere else. That all this energy he could be directing into Bradley's
Yeah.
case. And I'm going to end it with this. When we don't have to say another word, Morgan. And this is what really got me. But this came out after you and I started talking. They went from this whole time, and we'll get to it in future episodes, and it's just a lot and it's unscripted. But they went from this whole time doing press releases about foul play involved and bringing out dogs and serving search warrants and giving people polygraphs and all that. And when Morgan turns against him, what does David Vance do? He himself releases a news article saying that the Bradley wasn't murdered. Bradley wasn't murdered. He's known to run away in the woods, and I don't believe there's anything wrong here. I'm paraphrasing.
Time that anyone did any harm to Bradley, he could have just ran off. That's
Yeah, well, I mean, he said it because I read it. I'm not making this shit up. But it's something to the effect of he's known to go.
He even
Do
said
I?
he even said it's not a cold case when
Yes.
time again they had called it a cold case.
Yes.
made Facebook posts on the
Yes.
sheriff's page calling it a cold case with stars beside cold,
Yes.
and then says it's not a cold.
Yes. Now it's not. Now it's not. But Morgan's against him. He's against Morgan. He's devoting all his time to harass her on her own media pages. And you know what? If I was a lawyer rich in Vernon Parish, I'd find out if he used the social sheriff's office shit to put that, his sheriff's office issued phone or whatever, to put that shit on your Facebook, and I'd have their ass for it. But I'm not. But the deal being, he is now actively telling the world this is not a homicide. It's not a cold case. Nothing happened to Bradley. He just ran away, ran off into the sunset. After working it all these years, after all these things we've shared and told y'all, after Austin Obanion is proven, and then another person comes out separately and says, hey, go look on the camera. We're sitting there. She told me this there. And it's basically the same fucking story. And now it's what? It's nothing. According to David Vance. It's no foul play here. Nothing to see here. Move along, please. And Morgan Baggett's full of shit. And I can only imagine what he's saying about Woody Overton. I don't give a fuck. But the deal being is that's where it's at, y'all. And we're going to dive more next week, more into, back into the facts and stuff. I know I'm skipping around a lot, but I really want to get to this point. And I'm throwing shade, yeah, because David Vance put the shade there for me to throw. I'm up to my eyeballs in shade on David Vance with all these tips and shit, bad shit people are saying about him. I'm not saying criminal. I'm not saying he's out there murdering people or anything like that, but I could damn well prove he put it out there for the whole world to see that he was working this case as a murder, as a cold case, and then because he's pissed off at Morgan, he goes on her own shit, puts her on blast, and does a release. Says, we don't believe anything happens to Bradley. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Bradley's known to run off. Motherfucker, he didn't run off for all these years, almost 6 years, right? And you changed your tune. All right, y'all, I'm ending it for this week. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to go back, dive into more different angles. And Morgan, I know it's just tough for you, sweetie. I know it is. And thank you for taking the time to do it. But there's so many more people than your TikTokers that are hearing the story for the first time. Okay.
Yeah.
And your TikTok followers, thank you for watching and listening and all that. If you're disappointed that you're not getting the big shocking news, I apologize about that. But that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about getting Bradley's story out there and getting more people involved so we get more tips. And I'm telling you, it's working. I'm telling you, the tips are coming in. I'm telling you, people are like, even though they may have heard of you on TikTok or watched some of your shit on TikTok, now it's on the podcast, people. Those two words don't really jive. And they are blowing me up. And I'm going to become the Vernon Parish. But I just want the whole world to know David Vance thinks Morgan Baggett's an idiot and nothing happened to Bradley Stracener. Right? And everybody's either the story died with them or it's crackhead gibberish or it's whatever. And everybody's innocent in the world. Bradley's going to show up. Hey, Morgan, don't go on home and cook double for dinner because Bradley's going to show up tonight, according to David Vance. Tell that to Oliver. Fuck that.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Fuck
No,
that.
actually, I want David Vance to tell that to my son, to Bradley's son.
Right. And one day,
Sheriff's office, and let David Vance look my little boy in the eye, Bradley's little boy, and tell him what he said in the article.
he's never going to do it. But one day, hopefully, we're going to have this solved long before then. But one day, Oliver's going to be a man, and David Vance is going to be an old man, and Oliver can have his own choice words with him once he hears a story on Real Life Real Crime and everywhere else. And that's it. Morgan, I love you. Thank you.
Love you too.
Stay safe. And we're going to be bringing it in again next week. And this is going to cause a shit show. I don't care. They advance at some point, they're going to blow back and do something, and that's fine too. Or maybe they'll be professionals and keep their mouth shut and go work this case, and hopefully it'll light a fire on somebody's ass to go look at the story that died with Austin Obanion. Because y'all, we got more about that and everything else. But that's it. Go, look, if you want to watch this on YouTube, it comes out on YouTube late, y'all. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, the podcast shit is a business too. And TikTok, I'm trying to do something every day on TikTok. 99% is about Bradley. I answer every one of your comments, and I do it. It takes me hours, and I do it with every one of them. I answer the comment and do it a hashtag just for Bradley, because I can tell you something. I can doing my own scientific shit on TikTok. It works. It gets you more views and more responses. I guess TikTok keeps pushing out more, and it gets me more tips. And so I'm going to keep doing that. The YouTube's going to come out days after the podcast comes out. Patreon Convicts, you're going to get your commercial-free early releases always. And we're running a day late this week. Sorry about that. Shit happens, and it is what it is. But I love you, Morgan. Thank you so much. And lifers, everybody that's listening, calling you tips. I don't care how small you think it is. It could be whatever. I will look at it. Okay. And when I got to put all these pieces together, and it's going to get done, we're going to put them together. Then what's David Vance going to say then? Where's your cliffhanger at now, David Vance? And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?